Mic check, 3-4. Mic check, 3-4. Mic check, 1, 2.
got our technology going here, so we're about ready to get started. Court reporter is okay? Okay. All right, then, let's go ahead and go on the record. This is file number OX-2026-0045 in the matter of the proposed Commission Rule 20 CSR 4240-10.035 residential advanced meter or hub meter opt-out. My name is Nancy DePell. I'm the regulatory law judge assigned to this matter, and we've come here today for a rulemaking hearing regarding that advanced meter opt-out rule. Since this is a rulemaking hearing, we're here today to take comments on the rule, and because of that, anyone can speak or give comments. You don't need to be an attorney or have an attorney represent you. It's not like a evidentiary hearing. The comments won't be sworn. But I will ask that if you are going to speak, that you'll come to a microphone. If you're seated at a microphone, you can stay there if you wish, or come up here to the front of the room if you're not. I'm not going to take entries of appearance from the attorneys to start. I'll let you give those as you go, and so that the court reporter can keep things straight, I will ask that before you give comments that you state and spell your name. I would also ask anyone online or in the room to mute your devices. And if you are online and need to speak, if you've muted yourself on a cell phone, you'll need to press *6, I believe, as well as be unmuted on your device or on the WebEx. With that, I think we're going to get started. I'm going to start with asking for comments from staff.
Good afternoon. This is Scott Stacy with Staff Counsel's Office here for staff. Staff filed comments last week, and we also submitted a summary of the comments that were presented by all the parties, and along with staff's response. Staff is in support of this new rule, and again, we're in support of it. And with me, I also have Claire Eubanks. If you have any questions, we will try to answer those for you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stacy. I'm going to, just to keep our transcript straight, I'm going to mark staff's summary and responses as Exhibit 1, just to add that to our transcript. Are there any commissioner comments for staff at this point? My commissioners are online, so I'm not seeing any comments from the commissioners at this time. Did staff have anything else at this time?
Not at this time, Judge.
Okay. All right, then we will move along. Would OPC like to go next?
This is Anna Martin with the OPC, with the Office of the Public Counsel, excuse me. Just entering our appearance. I don't know if you can tell, my voice isn't doing particularly well. So if we have any comments, I'm going to pass the mic over to Dr. Mark.
I will just add that we've had an opportunity to review staff's response to stakeholder comments, and we're in general agreement with staff's position.
Okay, thank you. And I should have said, if comments come up during the course of other comments, after everyone's had a chance to speak, I'll offer up an opportunity to respond if that becomes necessary. I'd like to go ahead then and start with the utility commenters, and then we'll go to the general public, or other organizations. Who is here from the utilities that would like to speak? Just kind of wave at me or nod at me. And okay, go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Paula Johnson. First name Paula, middle initial N, last name Johnsson. I'm appearing on behalf of Union Electric Company, DBA, Ameren, Missouri. I just wanted to quickly reiterate, as we stated in our comments, we are very appreciative of the hard work that staff has undertaken in providing additional clarification and guidance in the implementation of the opt-out statute, the AMI opt-out statute. And we had suggested some additional clarification. I note that one of the things that we initially brought up with regard to the fact that a lot of times we have combination customers, both gas and electric, that we had suggested deleting some language that related to accounts, but I see that staff has suggested changing the language from "in no event shall a utility assess more than one monthly fee per account" to "per meter." We are fine with that revision. That takes care of our concerns, so we're supportive of that additional revision. I also want to acknowledge that we're grateful that staff recognizes that at some point traditional meters may no longer be commercially available. As we noted in our comments, we are already buying refurbished meters because that style of meter is not being produced. But I also wanted to thank a lot of our utility colleagues for also bringing up that it's not just commercially available, but because of various security concerns, we also need to be cognizant of just because it's commercially available doesn't mean that it's necessarily an appropriate meter. So we appreciate the suggestions that it also includes language from a utility-approved vendor that meets the utility specifications. We thought that was another very good suggestion that we fully support, that was brought up by Evergy and to an extent by Missouri American Water too. So we wanted to express support for that position. We also note that Evergy and Missouri American Water both brought up the point that physical access to the meters is going to be very important because the difficulty of reading the meters is going to require, for those who choose to self-read, it's going to require our ability to access the meters regularly to be able to double check and make sure it's done correctly. And this is why I personally want to express how important that was. My brother was actually a meter reader for the city that we grew up in, and I would go read meters with him periodically. And I even had the explicit instructions on how to read a meter as I was preparing the comments. And I still got it wrong when I was preparing those comments. So it's going to be a learning curve, and we're going to want to make sure that we can help our customers out by being able to physically get in and look at the meters on a regular routine, because otherwise we don't want them to be in a position of being greatly overcharged or undercharged because of meter reading errors. So we want to be able to offer them that support. So we're very supportive of our utility colleagues for bringing that position up also. And I believe a lot of the things staff has pointed out in their comments, we know that we think the ability to estimate, to keep people in their billing cycles is very appropriate. We do concur with staff. That is something that we would have the ability to do when we submit our tariff. We think the ability to clarify the postal service and the estimation in the rule would be helpful, but if we'll have the ability to do that when we submit our tariff, we can accept that too, much like the point regarding the interest on any potential inaccurate billings. So as long as it's supportive that when we get to the point of actually submitting our tariff and we can work through those issues at the time, we will be happy to do that. So with that, I just wanted to express my appreciation for the opportunity to raise these points, and we'll be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Thank you. Ameren had filed a motion after the close of the written comment period to submit the amended comments. And again, just to keep the record straight, I think I'll mark that document as Exhibit 2 and receive it as comments today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Were there any commissioner questions for Ameren at this time? I'm not seeing any, so thank you for those comments. Does Evergy have comments? Or Spire? I'm sorry.
Yes, Judge. This is David Yance on behalf of Spire, Missouri, Inc. I did provide my contact information to the court reporter. Good afternoon, Commissioners and Judge. Appreciate the opportunity to speak today. My comments will be brief. We are supportive of the rule and really appreciate staff's work on the rule, and more recently pulling together a summary of all of the comments. We have reviewed those. We did file comments in the docket, but after reviewing staff's response to those comments, we believe that our feedback and concerns are addressed in staff's response that was handed out by Mr. Stacy at the beginning of today. So we are good. We are supportive of the comments, and again, appreciate all of the work by staff on those. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions by the commissioners for Spire? Not seeing any. Did we have other comments here?
Hi, my name is Jennifer Coleman and I represent Missouri American Water Company. We appreciate the opportunity to provide and participate in today's hearing. We would like to thank Commission staff as well for their diligent work in this rulemaking. We overall support the comments that other utilities made in this proceeding. And staff notated this on their recently filed chart that the company made a minor error when it filed its comments referencing Rule Section 2B. And so I just wanted to call that out, and that citation should have been 2C. Staff caught that as well. And I also wanted to highlight some of the challenges that water customers specifically may have when reading their water meter. Unlike electric and gas meters, water meters are often located in an outdoor meter pit in the ground, and so that could pose additional challenges for customers to access their meter. In some cases, the meters could be submerged in water if there was a recent rain event. So we just wanted to highlight some of the practical considerations about how customers are going to be able to read their meter. Obviously, we will provide support and tools for the customers to do that, but just given the location of the meter, that could pose as a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any commissioner questions for Missouri American? Okay, I don't see any. Does Empire have comments?
Thank you. Diana Carter for the Empire District Electric Company, the Empire District Gas Company, Liberty Utilities Missouri Water LLC, and Liberty Utilities Mid-States Natural Gas Corp. Also just wanted to say thank you for having the opportunity here to participate, and thank you to staff for all of their work. We do appreciate that some flexibility remains through individual tariffs, and believe that will be helpful for the different commodities and different utilities.
Are there any commissioner questions for Ms. Carter? Not seeing any. And I apologize, I didn't bring my glasses up here, so that's why your faces are all kind of fuzzy. So, are there other utility representatives that wish to give comments? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Are there members of the general public or other organizations that wish to give comments? Just come up here to the podium and state your name and give us your comments.
Yeah, Judge, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful. My name is Robert Workman. My name is spelled R-O-B-E-R-T, Workman, W-O-R-K-M-A-N. I am an electromagnetic radiation specialist. I'm a building biologist here in Missouri. I have another certification in advanced grounding techniques, also picoscope and oscilloscope training. Basically, layman's term is what I can see. I have the ability to see what's in the wiring. All the voltages are right above the 60 hertz cycle. So some of the concerns I do have with the new bill is the language that's put in the bill, and I want to make sure that it states that it's a mechanical non-RF meter, not a traditional meter, because the traditional meter could be a digital opt-out meter, which the guts in that meter has been biologically active for my customers because of a switch mode power supply that's put in each one of those meters to bring it to the lower voltages. And that switch mode power supply injects dirty power above the 60 hertz cycle, and it gets injected into the wiring, and I can see that with my equipment. And that dirty kilohertz power actually is used to determine what each light bulb and appliance is actually consuming for the utility. And then I'm concerned about a privacy issue that could be downloaded and actually used as a way of method to find out where people are at in the house at later dates. So we have the kilohertz frequencies above the 60 hertz cycle. I'm also finding that we have a big issue with the possibility of my customers using those types of digital meters where they're actually being overcharged because they're being charged every 15 minutes on each light bulb, each appliance, and that 15 minutes could end at any time. And when you turn on that appliance, you have a voltage surge, and that voltage surge will be calculated for the whole 15 minutes. So that client will get a 15-minute surge charge, and then if that appliance is turned off in 3 minutes, it's still charged for 15 minutes. So I think that's close to getting to dishonesty. I also have a concern about privacy for religion. We have certain clients that actually pray during certain times of the day, and those peak voltages could be turned on at those certain times of the day to give them a higher bill. Also, we also have a code violations in Missouri that I'm finding 250.3, I believe it's 250.6, that there's actually wiring in a house that's causing these injections of dirty power above the 60 hertz cycle that's getting transferred all throughout the house because of the way the wiring is set up, that these miswires cause an explosion off the wall where the higher frequencies considered above the kilohertz section of the damage, which causes more biological damage. Typically, when those injections go into the wiring, they expand out about 5 to 7 feet, which is usually what we deal with. But when we have houses that now have these smart meters, where before the clients were doing okay, but as soon as a smart meter was put in, or digital non-RF meter put in, the guts inject that throughout the house, and it actually expands further than that 5 to 7 feet. I'm also a little concerned, excuse me here, besides the wiring errors, we also have, yeah, so I'm also concerned because the digital non-RF cannot synchronize with the grid because the radio frequency is what's used to do that, and it would kind of float almost like a computer's not actually plugged in, to the internet. So over time, that time would not be calculated at the right time to charge these peak charges. The analog mechanical meter does not have any of these flaws. It's actually a perfect meter. It's a green meter. It actually only calculates the amperages, and then when the transformer side, the analog meter, mechanical meter, it kind of suppresses the dirty power. And why I'm talking about that is the switchable power supplies are right before the sensor of the digital mechanical meter or smart meter, and it picks up what they call amperage and voltages. So in a sense, the utility company is saving money, but the consumer is not. So all these smart devices are producing dirty power above that 6 hertz cycle, and the smart digital non-RF meters are picking that up. So then therefore we're having customers getting high utility bills, they can't figure out why. Then we have the issue with, because of the way the grid is done, the neighbors' smart devices and all their devices they have, that dirty power gets into the grid because we're all connected to the secondary side of the transformer. That secondary transformer energy gets transferred to my customers' houses. And we're picking that up with oscilloscopes and picoscopes, which is above the 6 hertz cycle, usually around the 20,000 kilohertz, 20 kilohertz, 60 kilohertz, 100 kilohertz, sometimes 300 kilohertz of energy. So I'm asking that we have a pretty straightforward bill that states that we want a mechanical non-RF meter versus a digital meter, which has those flaws in the guts of the actual meter, which is actually more of a computer system versus a meter. You have any questions for me?
Can I ask you just to state the scopes that you were talking about, the names?
Yeah, the picoscope and oscilloscope. Basically, it's equipment that I've been trained from a 40-year electrical engineer. He worked on the NASA space program, and he spent about 4 months with me above and beyond when we actually went to about 200 houses and set it up. And he trained me how it works. That way I can see that energy to rise above that 6 hertz cycle. And we know as a building biologist that the energy above 2 kilohertz is actually what causes most of the biological activity. And I'd like to see, I've never seen a peer-reviewed study in history that shows that this dirty power is actually safe. Now, sometimes they can't find harm, but if you're not looking for it, you're not going to find harm. I'm looking for a study that shows that it's safe. I haven't seen that yet. But due to observational studies of doing thousands of surveys around the country with me and my team members, and doing 230 here in the Missouri area, we're finding that when people have the analog mechanical meter, they do better. If they get the digital or the digital radio frequency meters, that's where the harm has occurred because of it's not the amount of radiation, it's the pulse modulation. It doesn't matter how much the radiation is, it's the spiking, the millisecond spiking is what actually causes the damage. When we can remove the spiking in the wiring and also the spiking in the air, that's when my clients get better. And just so you know, I was also injured from this as well, so I have 2 medical doctors that confirm my injuries from these types of smart devices. So that's kind of how I got into the business. I don't do this for a living. I have my own construction company, and I just do this because it needed to be done.
Okay, thank you. Are there any commissioner questions for Mr. Workman? I'm not seeing any. Thank you, Mr. Workman,
you.
for your comments.
Thank you very much.
And is there anyone else, and I realize that we do, I believe, have some members of the public online that may want to give comments, but I'll take the rest of the comments in the room first. Is there anyone else that is present that wanted to give comments? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody. And now, I know, do we have Ms. Peterson online?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Would you like to give comments, further comments, Ms. Peterson?
Yes, I would. First off, I appreciate you doing accessibility accommodation today. I do care for a disabled individual and he is homebound. I cannot leave. And so you're respecting the federal law of ADA compliance. And I just so appreciate you taking this online for my public comment. Okay, second, I've been aggressively working with the state and the local and the federal, and so that the commissioners know, as well as yourself, Your Honor, that I didn't take my role lightly when I tried to assist with people who are concerned about what's called advanced meters, which is the actual name and title of this, I believe, advanced metering, okay? So advanced meters to me are indicative, and I just want to be like Rob Workman, I want to be clarifying because the word traditional is getting, I guess, a little stretch of the envelope. We are interested in keeping away from anything advanced, and advanced meters would require that we would allow chips inside the devices, and those chips are what are in. I know that the term smart is getting confused because we had a smart meter opt-out. And so then we went to a non-RF digital, but a non-RF digital is what was proposed by one of the vendors recently, and we had a little conflict, and I am still trying to clarify that when the word smart gets confused, if there's a chip inside of the meter, for being the fact that it's a digital meter, it's actually a smart device. Do you remember those flip phones we had when you just opened them up and you talked, and never thought we'd have anything that had a chip inside that was smart and you could type into it and stuff? It's very technical, right? But it's actually, every advanced meter is a smart meter. So everything other than an analog is not a traditional meter. And I'm feeling like we're having to make a clarification here that I thought the statute presented well, but I guess not, because like I said, I'm getting a lot of blowback. And unfortunately, the process of demand and supply, which is the reverse situation, we're trying to get the supply of the analogs again, but we must let the vendors get the opportunity to tell their manufacturers, we demand the supply, because the law says we get the analogs. And oh my goodness, what doors that can open. It's the reverse use of the words demand to supply. And that's how it's going to happen. And then manufacturers are going to come along because they're trying to follow the law too. They're not, why would they produce things that are advanced meters anymore? It's just going to be a headache, and they're going to sit somewhere. And by the way, where they sit every 8 years, even on the non-RF meters, which is my other concern of ecology here, is when they pull them off every 8 years, because they are smart, even though they are non-RF digital, they're still smart. They pull them off on a cycle life of 8 years, and then they put them in e-waste trash into our landfills. And I have worked hard to talk to DNR, and the commissioner there, his name is Ryan Seaball. We've spent, at least 15 minutes. He gave me maybe a half hour one time. But I've talked to Emily Wilbur, who's the director of the Energy Division, the new director there, and she knows, and everybody knows, anything that's not going to last 60 years, which is an analog meter, is a smart meter. And when we create that into our environment, we're just creating more e-waste. And my brother's worked for Missouri Conservation. He was going to try to get on here. I don't know if he's going to be able to, but he's a biologist. And he's seen those e-waste dumps. And my goodness, people, you wouldn't want to know what 8 million smart meters going in an e-waste dump looks like even in a 20-year time frame, because there's 8 million every 8 years going in those e-dumps. And so we are harming our little creatures out there that we try to preserve and work so hard to take care of by throwing things away like this. The second thing is, I have an older refrigerator, so I'm just one person, but I have an older refrigerator, and if they hook a non-RF digital meter on my house, within a year, it will ruin my current refrigerator. That dirty electricity that Rob was talking about, it travels along the lines, and it's bleeding off, and it's not only harmful to an ADA perspective for the disabled person with 2 metal hips in here, if he's walking along the carpet and he's getting a little bit of a shock. And why I want to go into that is because the Attorney General's office in 2017 took in a matter like this with horses outside of St. Louis, where this dirty electricity was coming in off of these brand new, what they call smart grid transformers that were put on the right-of-way property there of 60 acres. Now, she wants to remain anonymous, but she's one of a Facebook group of 400 in St. Louis who's told me their stories. And then there's ones that we have through 300 in 4 states regions that have stories. But I'm going to stay on dirty electricity just for a second, because that's a stronger leg of what we're dealing with now, which is these non-RF smart meters that are called digital meters. Okay, so when we think of dirty electricity and we just see the gambit of it coming in our house, or whether that's a problem and ruin my refrigerator or make me sick or cause my patient here with 2 metal hip implants to feel a vibration of static coming up and shocking him, they don't want to know that. But I can tell you about horses and animals that have been injured on property, and that it went to the Attorney General's in 2017, and I kept all that documentation. I sent it in and to the lawyer there, and Cooper Childers, he's the liaison, he's well aware. I'm not happy with the fact that that particular vendor, we won't name names, came out and pulled those transformers, admitted there was a problem, but to this day, that lady can't let her horses drink on their warming water trough that they paid thousands of dollars for, because they get shocked. To this day, even though they removed those transformers, there's just this other kind of static bleed that's coming in because of our, quote, need to have a grid, a smart grid. So we got transformers now popping up on your corner of your house, in your yard. They look like, I don't know what, they're huge. They're, I'm 5 foot tall, so they're like half my size and feet in depth, and they're pretty high. They probably come up to my waist. But those are just basically transformers to make sure they can do digital meters. It's all smart technology. It's links in a chain that they want to keep running so they can do it this way. And none of it leads to a healthy environment. None of it leads to a proper electrical currency running under our ground. And there's health hazards, there's biological hazards. And where we're moving with the smart stuff, it's getting scary. The data centers, I know Senator Hawley is working hard in St. Louis, just prevented one from coming in. But this is the kind of thing we're just going to go all out, and we're just going to look the other way, and then people are sick. And I can't tell you how sick this lady, but when her horses died and her dogs died, and then she got brain cancer, and then some of her neighbors near those transformers, some of them did pass away. The attorney generals can't go in and prove all this, but the stories are there. And by the way, the Department of Natural Resources never got in on this. And why? Because this is EPA. And I have reached out to EPA, Region 5, David Kozit is the director. He knows the entire story. We've sent him stuff. We've talked to the Department of Justice, environmental attorney, Charles Thomas on this matter. And we want him to come in and make the EPA come down here and do something. Because, you know, Emily Wilbur's doesn't have the staff and the knowledge and the kind of stuff that Robert's talking about, because our state, we can't just self-contain and handle this, because we don't have the EPA. We don't have the experts like Robert. They're sitting up there in Kansas City, and I've asked them to send them down or listen to my guy in St. Louis with the same credentials toe to toe. And I'm sorry, but they're turning a deaf ear, and they were supposed to, with the NEPA, they were supposed to do field testing, all this stuff before they ever sent it through. Unfortunately, it came in through the UN Agenda 2021, and I think Trump was talking about that the other day in his long speech, and he said, you know, all that green that they sent through, it's hogwash. He doesn't even know why they did it, and they're bringing back regular light bulbs now too. So we know where we listened to somebody in the UN who decided we needed to go green and said that the smart electronics and the smart grid was the thing we needed, and they sent us smart meters all across the country through the FCC, who is in a lawsuit and already been convicted, and they won't change their safety regulatory. And we've talked and talked because they're one rung above below SCOTUS, and Washington lawyers, Environmental Health Trust, has already beat them on this. And he has 11,000 pages of white pages documentation. And so they're already in abatement of a judge. And yet these smart meters are still out here harming people who are literally, I could cry. I've kept them off my house, and I will thank Liberty for allowing me to have my analog this long. We're starting to hit a little glitch, and I don't want to be specific because, you know, we're letting the commission do their job. But everybody needs educated, and all the utility vendors are just amiss to this. I've talked to the engineering right here in Joplin today, and the vendor there, and he's ready to be educated. He says, we really don't want to hurt people inside their house. I said, I know that. But it's unfortunate that we have agencies outside of the federal level that pass in these smart meters. Now we've got somebody saying that another kind of smart meter is not a smart meter, calling it non-RF digital. No, it's a smart meter, and it does switch properties, just like if you have a fan that you can only turn on or off. But if you have a fan that can turn to 3 different levels, high, medium, and low, and you do that all day long, you're creating power switch. And a power switch is what these non-RFs do. In simple layman's terms, they spend all day taking your kilowatts, I believe, to your amperage and back and forth, and just do a lot of extra stuff that doesn't need to be done. But for somebody that wants to report back to a smart grid to tell them something like the stuff Robert's describing in that 15-minute window, it's apparently important. But it's really not. And so it's excessive, and it bleeds dirty electricity, and that harms our health, and it is not heading in the direction of safe for environmental cause, which is really the job of the Department of Natural Resources, but it's over their head. They don't have any jurisdiction. So it's really the job of the EPA, who hasn't stepped in and helped Missouri. So I'm really sorry that the commission is in a vulnerable position at the FCC, put them in charge of smart meters. And they did that to every single state because they deployed them. And then they said they were your problem unless it was actual cellular towers, which is telecom. And yet this is telecom equipment, but they want you, Missouri Public Service Commission, to oversee this, even though you don't have experts like Robert to talk about it. So it's been a really bad ride since the UN agenda, which was a green agenda, which is not clean energy, and it's actually harming. It's biologically harmful. It is not a good move in a way for America. We need to get appliances and things that work. And an analog meter lasts 60 years. It causes no health harm. It causes no concerns, and we know how to read them. I've done it. I've sent it in to my gas company who's allowed me to do that, and then sometimes they want me to double check it, but it's simple, and we've worked together. Spire has been a blessing. I don't have any qualms, particularly with any of the utility vendors. I know they're a business trying to make money, but when ethics come above money, and when our civil rights come, or our rights to protection of our environmental health and concerns, and we have real case studies and things to promote that we're not wearing tinfoil hats anymore, then we need to also bleed this over into talking about dirty electricity, which is, I think, the concern right now, because the non-RF digital meters are trying to slide in as a traditional meter because you can look at them and read them. That has nothing to do with this rulemaking bill against advanced meters. These are advanced meters. What don't we understand? And as my city planner said to me, what doesn't that vendor understand about the word traditional meter? That means analog. And I'm quoting somebody, I'm going to, fail to mention what city I'm in, but this is the kind of thing that we just understand out here. So who's confused? I'm worried. I'm worried that vendors are confused, and they need clarification. And I'm so glad that you guys are here to present and to be able to try to make clarification as best you can with all of this input from today, and just letting me finish and represent some people that weren't able to come on as expert witnesses. So I thank you for the extended time frame of speaking.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Are there any commissioner questions for Ms. Peterson? All right, I'm not seeing any. Thank you again. Is there anyone else online that wished to give comments?
This is Bob Peterson. I would like to have just less than 3 to 4 minutes.
Go ahead, Mr. Peterson.
Yes, in responding to a little bit of what I've heard already today, I wanted to present for your evidence an article from July 19th, 2012, entitled The 21st Century House, from it's a magazine in Quebec, Canada. And it's an article entitled Smart Meters Correcting the Gross Misinformation. and it's an article that interviews Dr. David O. Carpenter, who is the founder of the University of Albany, New York School of Public Health. And briefly, in this article, he lays out the misinformation that we've been receiving, even at that point in 2012, regarding the falsehoods surrounding electromagnetic waves and fields, and with respects to how they are, in fact, evidence provides in the disproving of this misinformation, that evidence is sufficient, providing brain cancer, electrosensitivities, biological effects, discrimination of early warning scientists like myself. I am a biologist with a master's degree, and I come to you with that, stating that there's just so much misinformation out there, when in fact you get a professor like this, a doctor of medicine, that's basically stating the utility companies have been using their own industry people to provide this information that the public receives, how friendly all this stuff is, biologically speaking, perhaps. And so I strongly urge you to seek out that article. Again, Smart Meters Correcting the Gross Misinformation, the 21st Century House. It's a magazine based out of Quebec, Canada. Again, that was July 19, 2012 when that was written. Early warning signs. We're missing the early warning signs. And speaking of signs, I mean, it's been obvious to me as a customer in the state of Missouri of electricity that there is a monopoly that is going on with the electricity utility companies. Having previously worked for a telephony company, the baby bells were split up. We were forced to lease our telephone lines to other companies to create competition for the customer and fair competition to the utility companies. Several of us in the state of Missouri are bound by what Liberty Utilities is sending us. We're bound by what has been previously approved to bill us from the Missouri Public Commission with regards to, for example, a Asbury Power Plant upgrade, which occurred in 2014, which probably was implemented in around 2016, Asbury, Missouri, upgrading the coal with a brand new scrubber to meet EPA regulations. $112 to $130 million passed along to the consumer with the approval of the Missouri Public Commission, Safety Commission. And then less than 10 years later, the public was forced to now pay for the demolition of what they had just paid to create. In less than 10 years, Asbury Power Plant has been demolished and subsequently been approved by the Public Service Commission as well, the state of Missouri, to pass that bill along to the consumer of $81+ million. You begin to look at what's going on, and if it doesn't sound right, if it looks like a rat, it kind of looks like some things are going on that are not right. They're just not right from that billing standpoint alone. And so with that, I find it hard to believe that I just think they're exceeding their rights as the utility company. Surely they have insurance to pay for supposed storm damage that we're now being, as a consumer, paying for. Surely they have an insurance company that's paying for that. I mean, it's the cost of business, and I understand they invested several $100 million in Asbury Power Plant, but that's the cost of doing business. That's just the cost of doing.
Let me interrupt you just a moment. We are here today to talk about this rule. If you have comments about other utility matters, I'd invite you to go to our website, psc.mo.gov, and click on the comments button and submit those comments. But do you have other comments related to the rule?
other than just to say that the consumer deserves a choice with regards to analog and smart meters, and so I'll end with that. And so thank you for hearing me out, and I will seek out your website and again try to vent in that route. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any commissioner questions for Mr. Peterson? I'm not seeing any. Thank you again, sir. Is there anyone else online that wished to give comments regarding the rulemaking? If you're on a phone, you might have to hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My name is Catherine Cogorno.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
My name is Catherine Cogorno. I'm from Kirkwood, Missouri.
Can you spell your name for us?
Yes, Catherine. The last name is Cogorno.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. I am supporting Elizabeth Peterson and Robert Workman, who I believe just spoke. I've been adamantly opposed and fighting the smart meter in all aspects, from the implementation and forced taking of it for 9 years. I've written the Missouri Public Service Commission, the Utility Alliance, our senators, and in fact, I am a founding member of St. Louis for Safe Technology, which is a group of people who are concerned with the smart meters and 5G. And we have over 500 people on our Facebook page with tons of information that people are sharing daily. And the smart meters is one of the top concerns, that people don't want them. They want to opt out. They're being charged extortion fees to keep the analog. And now we have the situation where you are offering pseudo analog or a Trojan horse instead of the digital ones, which is totally unacceptable. So I'm going to read a statement myself personally, and it's going to be brief, okay? First of all, I believe, and I've written before, that I also follow Children's Health Defense and the environmental impact and their environmental health trust that has thousands of peer-reviewed studies proving for decades, and the government knows that this wire radiation is toxic, and also the smart meters are pulsing thousands of times a day, and that's causing health problems that our authorities and all the people involved in this do not want to recognize. I believe anything that's forced upon anyone that's hazardous is illegal, or even if it's potentially hazardous. Kirkwood Electric, 8 years ago, put on my house an electric smart meter without my consent, which I had objected to it in writing and verbally at a town hall meeting multiple times and months before. I fought for years, and like I said before, wrote to my local reps and many senators, the PSC, the Utility Alliance. Nobody cared, or even to get information when it was their job. I believe I'm told they're totally irresponsible by just adhering to trying to hide behind the FCC, who we know, whose guidelines we know are 25 years obsolete, and who are in contempt of court for never considering the thousands of studies providing harm from wireless radiation. And they are complicit in corruption and crimes against humanity. So even though this sounds like 5G, the smart meter thing falls right into that. The smart meters are constantly pulsing. I've actually measured it in my house with the help of Robert Workman, who's a certified building biology expert. And I had to buy expensive filters to reduce the dirty electricity that the smart meter was causing in my house, in addition to having to move out of my bedroom because the meter was 2 feet away from where I was sleeping, and I was getting very ill. I was having brain fog, headaches, insomnia, and actually heart problems. I had to go to a heart cardiologist I had never been to in my life, and to straighten out the stuff. And meanwhile, I was learning a lot about all this. But it's time to get real about the effects not only on the average person, but children and animals and the elderly who are vulnerable and people who have cancer. And so my Kirkwood Electric did not allow me to opt out, which I believe the Public Service Commission should have forced them to allow me to opt out. So now we have well, now we have the gas digital meters also, and we have to pay $30 a month, which is an extortion fee to have them come and read it when we easily could read it ourselves like we used to do years ago. So we don't want to be fried, we don't want to be surveilled and see the health of our loved ones, children and elderly especially, deteriorate from toxicity we didn't ask for. We want our real analogs brought back, the ones that last many, many years, if not decades, and that don't emit any radiation, they don't pulse, or they're not communicating. You are responsible for defending the safe and healthy of your families as well, so please do the right thing. And remember that radiation is cumulative. I thank everybody there who's looking into this, especially the people who are standing up for this, who've been fighting this for many years. And thank you for taking my testimonial. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I will just clarify for you that if your electric provider is the city of Kirkwood, the commission does not actually regulate the municipal utilities. But
no, I know they don't. I got that message in a letter years ago, but they should. There has to be a way where everybody's treated the same, and the danger is not just to some, it's to all. So I'm just saying that I know it's a problem. I appreciate you reminding me, but I already know that. That's precisely why I'm trying to communicate to you, because they don't listen, they don't care, they don't even read my emails. I've been banned from communicating to them. That's how bad it's gotten.
No, we appreciate your comment, and it's relevant to the rule. I just wanted to make sure you were aware.
Yes, I have a letter way back. I wrote more than like 7 or 8 years ago to the PSC and also the Public Alliance, and got the same runaround. You know, nobody seems to be responsible. We're at a point where cumulative radiation is a serious problem. I'm in the healing arts field, and I can tell you every day people are coming to my healing practice with problems related to their immune system and their neurology, headaches, brain fog, insomnia, heart problems. I mean, the signs are there. So I just don't want to go into it any further because it makes me angry, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Are there any commissioner questions? Right, seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone else online that wish to give comments? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Was there anyone else in the room that wished to give comments? And I'm not seeing any here. Well, I thank you all for your participation. The commission appreciates your comments, and I believe that will conclude this hearing. We can go off the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.